Radio Network. Idol Radio Show Flash. Listening to the All Digital Radio Network.
Want to go out to a movie? Or maybe watch a movie at home, but you can't decide on what to watch? Head on over to freemovieinformation.com. The movie trailers and descriptions for thousands of movies, both current and older, are all in one place. freemovieinformation.com. Thousands of movie trailers, one location. freemovieinformation.com.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the All Digital Radio Network. Whether you're a brand new listener or a longtime fan, you've probably noticed that we have quite a lineup. Do you have a business, an organization, or a group that needs global exposure? Have you been priced out of the traditional radio market, or are you seeking a new, innovative way to reach your customer base in this advanced digital age? Radio advertising is one of the most inexpensive and effective ways to get your message out to the mass public. We have advertising packages for almost any budget with the same quality you've come to expect from the All Digital Radio Network. Give us a call today at 312-324-0180, or you can email us at advertising@alldigitalradio.com. Let the All Digital Radio Network broadcast your business message to the world crystal clear.
Did you know that the federal government gives away over $400 billion in grants each year to private citizens like you? Go to findthegrant.com. These programs require no credit check, no collateral, no cosigner. What you need is the correct information found at findthegrant.com. If you're a U.S. taxpayer, you are entitled to your slice. Get the information to get started today. www.findthegrant.com.
You are listening to the All Digital Radio Network.
The virus has completely devastated over 150 of the world's major regions and is spreading rapidly. At this point in time, we know of only one method of killing the creatures or to destroy the brain. Be on the guard of any loved ones who may have recently been in any sort of contact with the infected. And if you find yourself in a threatening position, please do not hesitate to act. Again, because this is not a test. This is not a joke. We as a species are overwhelmed. We are outnumbered.
Walker Wednesday starts now.
Oh my God, they're everywhere.
Ooh, it's spooky. I like it. I did listen to it before, but that's good. All right, welcome to Walker Wednesday, our premiere episode of the brand new radio show on the All Digital Radio Network. Locke, as you just heard him giggle, and I have developed the Walker Wednesday to help you guys get over the hump and get your midweek dose of The Walking Dead. We'll be here to discuss the show, answer questions, and hopefully bring along some special guests. Locke's already, mentioned a couple special guests, so hopefully.
I got to try and sweet talk them.
Yeah, there you go, a little sweet talking. If you want to interact with us during the course of the show, listen live page on our website. There's a shout box, walkerwednesday.com, or send us a tweet at Walker Radio Show, and we'll get to some of those during the course of the show. So here we are. Walker Wednesday, The Walking Dead, the best show on TV, and we now have a radio show.
Yeah, we're just whores latching on to the best thing out there.
It is. It really is the best thing out there. This franchise, 5 seasons. It's great. I mean, imagine if this show was actually on one of the major networks, not even on AMC, a major network. It'd probably be bigger than it is right now, but it is a huge show, tons of fans.
Brings up a good point because My Network TV just started picking up the syndication rights, so they're showing like the first and second seasons right now. 2 episodes, I believe, every Wednesday night, at least in this area. It might be different in other areas.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. I did see it in the guide. I've noticed it a couple times. We've stopped and watched. It's season 2, I think you said they're in. I can't keep track of exactly what's what, but season 2, it's great. I mean, this show there's a show on after the show that talks about it, The Talking Dead. I mean, it's huge. And our radio show.
Yeah, but if it was on Fox, they would have already canceled it by now.
Yeah, Utopia.
They would have fireflied it.
We can't talk about that, though. This is strictly The Walking Dead. Well, or anything Walker related.
Well, Sasquatch walks. So, maybe when they're in hiatus, we can talk about,
Finding Bigfoot.
Yeah.
There you go. I like that.
Or other zombie shows.
Yes. All right. So we're how many episodes in? What's the scoop here?
Well, we didn't get to start with episode 1 of season 5. So real quick, let's do a little backstory, what we missed, we weren't able to talk about. No Sanctuary was the first episode in season 5 with a badass Carol and a big bang, and ended with the final fate of Tasha Yar. For those of you that maybe didn't catch it, Terminus Mary was played by Denise Crosby, who played Tasha Yar on Star Trek The Next Generation. And I didn't even notice it either. Good God, she put on a few pounds.
Never watched Star Trek, so.
She was the blonde security officer in the first season until she did a Playboy spread and they fired her.
Yeah, there you go.
They basically killed her.
That happens.
And then we had the second show of the season, which was Strangers. It was a show of redemption that ended with a kebab cookout. I think that pretty much shocked everybody,
It did. What really gets me out of that whole scene is that he didn't seem to be in pain. And I don't know if maybe they seared it while he was passed out and the pain was just not there anymore, but he just didn't seem to be in pain. And I would think if your leg was cut off brutally like they did, I mean, it wasn't done skillfully in a doctor's office. I mean, this was brutally hacked off. You would think you'd be just in agony.
No, that was a good effect because we didn't see it coming.
No, not at all.
Who knows? Maybe they jacked him up with pain pills. They never explained that. But you and I called that because that's the reason we were trying to get the show on a couple of weeks earlier. We called that one because everybody was trying to figure out, even on The Talking Dead, what was Bob just doing, going out in the graveyard and having a cry.
Yeah, we mentioned this on Off the Hook Radio, that he was bit. He definitely was bit. He was acting weird when they left the wherever it was that they went to get all the food that the
food bank.
Yeah, the food bank. He was just acting weird, and I knew something was up. I knew he got bit, and I thought we were going to find out in that episode, but we really didn't find out. I mean, we never found out until the third, right?
Yeah, and that was the opening scene. Those opening scenes are very dramatic. They kind of set the stage for the entire show sometimes. But, geez, what was I going to say? Next episode, 4 Walls and a Roof, pretty much ended the termites for good. Yeah. We lost Gareth. We lost Bob. We saw a rift in the group with half headed for D.C. and the other half waiting for Daryl and Carol to come back, which was setting up for the episode that we're going to talk about in depth tonight. One thing I don't like making too many. I love making predictions. I'm not going to lie. But the marks on the trees, okay?
Yes.
When Gareth explained that he was the one making the mark so he could find his way back, and then he started basically going into like a little spin, like a gibber spin, where he wasn't really saying anything. Something tells me that they didn't make the marks in the trees. Somebody else did. Going out on a limb, because if we don't ever see another mark on a tree, that's pretty much going to be the end of that. But I don't think he did it. I think someone else did that.
It's interesting. I don't know. Why would he say that they... I don't know.
But he said something like, we made the marks on the tree so we could find our way back. But, back, and then he goes, blah, 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 back from where? Like he really, he was being kind of existential and saying that they didn't have a home now and they were lost and they were wandering, so why would they want to find their way back from here?
Yeah, it'll probably be nothing ever about it again, so... I want to mention something, go back to the first episode of the season, the No Sanctuary, with the opening of Carol pretty much, like you said, being a complete badass. I so didn't see that happening. I mean, she single-handedly pretty much saved the next season. I mean, obviously there was going to be a whole season, but it's just, I didn't see it being Carol being the one that pretty much saved the day. And it was.
And what you have to expect... Oh, there goes my nice echo. What fools a lot of people in this is they shift in time.
Yes.
So you can see Rick and Bob and Daryl all lined up getting ready to get slaughtered at the trough, which was a very dramatic scene. And then you hear the explosion, and it goes back like an hour or two, and you see Carol setting up everything to the explosion. So you really have to follow little hints and things so you get your time right.
No.
But we even saw the return of Sam, the hippie. He was the first one that got killed at the trough there.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. That was an interesting scene. We talked about that on our Monday night Off the Hook show. It was just that the extent that they went to keep everything so clean and sanitary, and the use of the trough, and the expertise on the way they slit the throats, and I mean, that was just like total precision. I mean, that was something I would have expected out of the governor, and because he was so controlled, and he didn't have that. There was no. He was just brutal. These people are brutal, but precision.
Yeah, like they say on The Talking Dead, Gareth was probably a junior level manager at a Starbucks, and he did everything exactly by the book, precisely. It was just generic evil. I mean, clinical evil, just pure and simple. No remorse, no trying to hurt anybody. It's just, hey, we got to do this job. Let's do it right.
Oh, that was.
And you can't. How do you argue with that? I mean, even a sociopath, you could sit there and beg for your life.
No.
This guy's like, oh no, this is what we do. Sorry, you're already dead.
And he was just so pleasant about it. Not really so much pleasant, but just, it is what it is, and such is life.
We'd seen Sam because in the episode where Rick basically kicks Carol out of the group and sends her on her way, Sam and his girlfriend were attacked by walkers. They were supposed to be coming back to meet Rick. And so apparently he must have made it to Terminus and got hooked up with these guys, and he was being slaughtered at the same time. The actor that plays Sam has got a starring role on the new Gotham series. They literally flew him in, didn't tell him anything, didn't give him any lines, and sit there and said, "You're going to be slaughtered, here you go." And they flew him right back out.
Oh, so next thing you know is he's over a trough getting his throat slit.
Yep.
Wow.
And they didn't tell anybody what was going to happen, so they wanted to see a pure reaction from everybody. But let's talk about the show that just passed. From now on, we're going to be going in-depth with each and every show every week when they have a new show. And this week, what do they call this one?
Slabtown. Season 5, Episode 4, Slabtown.
I love that name.
Oh, absolutely. And we finally get to see Beth. I mean, Beth has not been around 6 episodes, and she's back. The scene breaks. It's Beth. She wakes up in a hospital at Grady Memorial in Atlanta. She sees the city's completely ruined. I'm glad she's back. I have missed Beth. I like Beth personally, but
now the only other time that we'd heard previously, we'd heard them talking about the fall of Atlanta, and if you remember, there was a flashback scene in season 2 before the group formed that eventually found Rick. Carl and Rick's wife, why do I not remember her name? Lori.
Yeah.
And Shane were escaping. They were trying to get to Atlanta because that's where everybody thought it was safe. And they see these helicopters fly overhead, and all of a sudden they see Atlanta being napalmed by the government. So apparently, the city must have fell, and they were blowing the crap out of it. And this is the only time we've gone back to Atlanta since then.
And it looked like it was pretty much in shambles for the most part.
Because from what I saw of that map, and if they posted that map, the one that Abe handed to Rick before they left for D.C., they're about 30 minutes north of Athens, Georgia, which is about an hour and a half north of Atlanta. So they were pretty far out there to have actually gone and met up with that group and got Beth like that.
That is quite a ways.
Especially in an apocalypse. Traffic is really nasty in an apocalypse.
But this hospital is not really so much a nice place to be as far as I'm concerned. We have, Officer Dawn Lerner, Dr. Stephen Edwards. They seem to be the two that are in charge here at this hospital. Well, the cop is more in charge.
Don't tell Dawn that Doc Steve is in charge.
Yeah, Doc Steve is...
He'll be dead.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Well, from what I gather, listening to the episode... He was in charge, and they're letting him believe he's in charge. Is that? I mean,
no, there was another guy.
And that's okay. And that's the one she killed and took care of the situation.
You got to figure if society still existed, she probably wanted to kill this guy even before the walkers took over. You know, if she could have got away with blowing this guy's head off and taking his job, she would have done it. That's the impression that I got. She's just a control freak.
There's definitely control issues there. There's no doubt about it. She's, I don't know. At first, when Beth woke up, I figured with the door being locked, basically she was just being housed in there. Not like with these guys, with like a bunch of people. There's not really a bunch of people. I figured just one person saved her, and they were just holed up in there, and it was just going to be one person. Turns out it's a smaller community, nothing like the governor had, or nothing like huge. But this is. I'm interested to see where this goes.
Well, you're seeing this more and more. Every group they run into. I mean, you've got the claimers. They just kind of wandered around. They had their little code that they worked by. The governor had his little way of doing things. The group at Terminus turned cannibal. Every little group kind of gravitates toward each other, and they invent their own little rules to survive. And this is what they did.
Right. Well, what I found interesting with one of the things they mentioned to her is that there's no way out. You can't leave. You can't get to the ground floor of the hospital. But yet they brought a couple of people in, so obviously they could get out. And they came out and got Beth when Beth left the hospital. So that didn't seem
the officers knew how to get out.
They just didn't let.
They even said that you can go down the stairwell, but the stairwells are guarded. So, but you can't go to the ground floor because the windows busted out and they're full of walkers, not rotters. That's what the what do you call them? The Grady bunches, they're being called.
Rotters.
They're calling them rotters.
Yeah, I like walkers better.
We'd have to be Rotter Wednesday, and that just don't sound right.
Yeah. So what do you think about this Gorman guy?
Oh, you mean Officer Rapey McRapes a lot?
Yeah, that dude, because he's definitely the worst of the bunch in there. I mean, I don't like Dawn, but Gorman is horrible. This dude just needs to be removed. Well, he is, but he needs to be removed sooner than later.
I mean, like the scene you're talking about where Dawn and the doc walks in. I mean, the last thing she says, and this is the opening credits, if we hadn't saved you, you'd be one of them by now. You owe us. So that kind of set the stage. And then we see a little backstory on how things work in Slabtown. I love Patient Shaft because we don't have a name for him. Beth has to go help Doc Steve. And so Patient Shaft dies. So they, cut him in the temple. And what is up with cracking these guys? I mean, does this Walker zombie disease, does it cause osteoporosis? Because Sasha killed one of these with a plastic shopping cart, little handheld basket. She cracked her skull open. So, what makes their bones so brittle? You can't crack a skull like that. But anyway, they kill the guy right through the temple, and they take him down to the elevator shaft disposal system because there's walkers all over the first floor. And on the way down, they see Noah for the first time. And another indentured servant apparently servicing an officer. And I watched this 3 or 4 times. I couldn't tell if it was one of the male officers or one of the female officers.
No?
Another girl that was in there.
Oh.
When she kind of passed by and she kind of looked at her and they kind of
slammed the door.
In a girl's kind of way, don't look at me because I just got raped. But there was Officer Shepard's female, Officer Bello is female, Officer Tanaka is Asian American. Officer, believe it or not, his name is Officer Dick. He's the one that captures Beth later when she's trying to escape. So, and one officer, we don't know which one is killed later in the show. But Doc Steve explains how the top floors were fortified and they feed the remains of anyone who dies to the walkers, and that's pretty gross.
Yeah.
That scene was pretty gross. It's chopping the guy's body right down the shaft.
It was. It really, And we saw it up close and personal later when they escaped, too. We really did. But anyways. Could you imagine? We'll get to that part. But then we see Beth and Gorman. That's your officer, what is it, Rapey McRapes a lot? Gorman. He's horrible.
Yeah, you're talking about the first scene when she goes into the commissary.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that she was getting food for the doc, but she was. She was getting a tray for Doc Steve, and I didn't get that. I thought she was actually getting food for herself. She, and Gorman.
Well, later he asked her, "Why didn't you get anything?" So apparently he probably would have until What you're about to say about Gorman told her.
Oh, basically that, she had to work the food off, or, she was stealing it if she didn't work it off. And she basically just walked out the door. She didn't take
There's the official way to work it off, and then there's the way you can work it off with Gorman.
Yeah, Gorman's he's a pervert. Officer Rapey McRapes a lot. We got to get a sound effect for him. He's dead, so it doesn't matter. But like I said, I didn't realize that it was for Doc Steve. But like you said, maybe she was going to get a tray for herself and for him. And, she realized, this is going to cost me a lot. I'm, not going to get his. This is where it jumped to, after she took the tray and she walked out, it jumped to the dude pressing the uniform, correct?
Yeah, we actually see Noah up close. Tyler James
Noah.
Williams.
Okay, that's his name, Noah. And Dawn, that's the head officer lady, and she's yelling at him about pressing her uniform.
It's kind of a friendly exchange.
Yeah, not yelling, but it was very stern.
Yeah, it was, telling him how to do it, and he's been there for a year so far, doing it every day. And the fact that they have clean and pressed uniforms in the apocalypse, that's what I found kind of, that's just her OCD coming out.
There you go. There's the OCD if she wants it to be neat and tidy. And they all were. And we saw later on in it where Beth went into Noah and everything behind was all neat and pressed. I noticed that. All the shelves, all the shirts, everything was all neat, was folded nice.
Yeah, she got her shirt dirty twice. She had to change shirts.
Oh yeah, because I remember the one person said, Beth's not, or Dawn's not going to like that when there was a little bit of blood, because even Beth said it's just a little bit of blood. I mean, she walked around, the woods with tons of blood on her. So what's a little bit now?
Well, I love when Beth finally makes it with the tray from the cafeteria, and then Doc Steve is talking about being bored. And I love her line. You're lucky. If you feel safe enough to be bored, you're lucky. And he's playing the music. They eat some guinea pig. And you have to know, really, you got to notice, Beth's a player. She basically has Doc Steve wrapped around her finger. She's the adult. She's intimidated by Dawn, and she's buddies with Noah.
Oh, but she's intimidated.
She keeps distance from Rapey McRapes a lot.
Well, she's
reading each one of them and playing each one of them.
Yeah, she's very smart. I think she's a lot smarter than people think, and I don't know if that comes from the fact that she tried to kill herself, or I don't know. She's very, very smart, and she does seem to read people and watch and study versus just react. I don't know.
This is the same one that couldn't figure out Hillbilly Daryl, who's very simple. I guess she was overreading him.
Very possible. I didn't realize it was guinea pig they were eating.
Yeah, they mentioned that a couple of times. I don't know where they got the guinea pigs. But then
two of them.
What you got now coming up, that was kind of like the turning point, because when this other guy comes in,
Gavin,
all busted up.
Gavin, yeah. He was, what, as you like to refer to it, save napped.
That's what they started calling it on the. That's what they started calling it on The Walking Dead. I mean, The Talking Dead. I'm sorry.
Did they? Okay. See, I only watched part of the episode of Talking Dead last week. So save now.
And what was really disheartening about the Talking Dead this week? I mean, I'm a big Doctor Who fan, Captain Jack fan, and I knew John Barrowman was homosexual, but I've always seen him in character where he acts manly. I've never seen him actually with his flamboyant voice, and that threw me off. Yes, he's still a cool guy. I like him. I follow him on Twitter, tweet to him all the time.
Oh, dear. Get him on the show.
Yeah, I got to try that. He's doing Arrow now. He's one of the villains on Arrow.
So it was interesting here because I kind of wondered why Doc put on the fight. And we find out later why Doc doesn't really want to save this guy.
Yeah, we didn't know it then.
Yeah,
because he knew the guy. I guess they're all doctors around Atlanta. Maybe they, mingled at a cocktail party. He knew who he was.
Well, but we didn't even know it was a doctor. We knew nothing. I mean,
going back and rewatching it, you realize that Dawn and Rapey McRapes a lot knew too, because they got his ID out of his wallet. They even knew his name.
Oh, see, I didn't notice that the first time through. That's why I have to watch these things 2 and 3 times.
He's apparently a oncologist at St. Ignatius in Atlanta, and Doc Steve knew it. Everybody knew it, but nobody knew the other ones knew it.
And basically, that would have been the end of Doc Steve if Gavin survived.
And then you see an old Nazi torture effect, right in the middle of that scene.
Oh,
You can't hurt the doc, so who do you hurt?
Beth. Poor
Beth.
Beth.
That's how she got the bitch slap in the first of her set of stitches. She
Well,
got scarred up in this episode.
And, in all honesty, all that did was just added time to her sentence because now it did. It added time because now she has to pay for the stitches that the doctor used. And I'm sure that got added. If they're in there counting how many oranges or guinea pigs she takes or, they're counting stitches. Just saying.
And then we fade back in there, and there's Doc Steve restitching Beth up because she was already stitched. She got smack where her stitches was, and we see the first green sucker or lollipop, which becomes ominous throughout the
yes, it does.
By the end of the show.
Yes, it does. And then we see Joan for the first time. She tried to escape. She got bitten, and they basically this is like they storm into the room. They grab this blade. A saw blade out of a drawer, and they basically cut her arm off. And wow, was that graphic? Wow.
They probably charged her for it too.
Oh, they did. They did. Gorman called her a smart-ass whore, and basically this pretty much sets in stone more of what's happening there at the hospital in Slabtown, because it's definitely a little prostitution ring going on.
Yeah, well, it's, a little bit later in the episode, we actually hear Dawn's reasoning. But the next scene, Beth and Noah finally meet, and Beth is picking his brain about what's going on. Noah explains how they didn't save his father. And, he said he believed them for the longest time, but then he finally figured out why, because his father was big and strong, and they couldn't have controlled him. They were trying to get back to Richmond where Noah's family was. They had actually come down to Atlanta to try and find the uncle, now where they were trying to go back to the mother in Richmond. And this is probably why they, set up Beth the way they did. And they didn't take Daryl because they're only taking the strongest.
Yeah, and that's interesting that they're doing that. But it's because they can control them. They can use Beth. They can use these other girls to breed down the road if they need, to have babies for their society because they're young. They're not going to fight back. They're not strong. Beth's just smart, but, she's not really that strong. Gorman, any trained officer should be able to handle someone like her. So it's a smart thing that they're not taking the strong and taking the weak. But anyways, so in the next scene, Dawn and Beth have a heart-to-heart about the exceptions being made to keep the group together. We see Dawn's delusion of things getting back to normal. And then we see Beth and Joan and hear more hints about the rapes. And it's easy. Joan quotes Dawn, "It's easy to make a deal with the devil when you're not the one paying the price."
Yeah, Dawn's got a delusional sense that everything's going to get back to normal soon, and she's keeping her officers happy until it does, and that's pretty much it.
She's nuts, but...
And then we see the green sucker come back, and Gorman's already found it. She hid it under her bed, and he basically sodomizes her with it, makes her perform oral sex on the green sucker. Then Doc Steve runs in, and they kind of start confronting each other, and Gorman kind of lets it sneak out that, if you're not the only doctor in here, you're gonna get it because we'll have you replaced in no time. And I guess that puts a fire under Doc Steve's ass to get rid of Dr. Doctor, the second doctor.
So now the secret's out that they all know.
Well, nobody's really saying anything, but everybody's jumping to conclusion.
Yeah. And then we get the tour of Slabtown when Doc and Doc Steve, not the other Doc, but Doc Steve and Beth, they go down to the ground floor, and basically she's shown the walkers. Beth asks the Doc, why'd you bring me here? The Doc says, "You've asked why I've stayed." And this is, that's true because Beth did ask why don't you leave here? And he really didn't give an answer then. And that's, when they came downstairs, and that's why he stayed.
I don't want to get eat.
But yeah, basically. And we saw that later too. They're everywhere out there, everywhere. And then they go up on the roof where they're growing. It looked like they were growing some plants up there. Food.
Easy, Slim. They weren't those kind of plants.
Yeah, maybe they weren't.
They're too close to Florida. It's not legalized. If it was Oregon, we'd assume.
Yeah, there you go. They're talking about the fall of Atlanta. Dawn and her boss, Hanson, and the rest of the officers had orders to move all the patients to Boulder Park. Later that night, they heard jets, bombs, screams. Basically, everyone was evacuated. They laid low until they had to go out for supplies. Hanson cracked. A control freak OCD took over the group. That's basically what happened there. I mean...
Yeah, I really get a feeling that Hanson never had a shot in hell. This Dawn chick would have probably taken him out no matter what, because she wants things her way. She only sees things her way, and she's going to have her way no matter what she has to do to get it.
Yeah.
And then they find the little kid they said was napalmed, and they make a deal with him, put him into indentured servitude, and he became their first ward.
Yep.
Right as they end, Doc, he's kind of clever. We just seem to have an innocent exchange, and Doc asked Beth to give Trevitt, he's Dr. 2, 75 milligrams of clozapine. She does. Trevitt dies because it was supposed to be 25 milligrams of clonazepam. And, I'm not sure how much research they did, if that really would do that. But clozapine is an antipsychotic meant to treat schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. And the other one, clonazepam, actually prevents seizures. And old boy died of a seizure. So he dies. Noah takes the blame. Noah gets beat down. Dawn knows that Beth really did it, so she gets worse than a beat down. She gets another self-righteous Dawn speech.
They are pretty bad.
You're part of a system. The wards keep my officers happy. The happier my officers are, the harder they keep us going. And we're going to hold on and keep going until we get rescued and everything gets back to normal. That's, she don't care. She knows what's going on.
Mm-hmm. And then finally, action. The big escape. Beth and Noah plan their escape. Beth goes for the elevator key. She sees Jones about to turn when she's in the office looking for the key, because she gets caught by Officer McRapity Gorman. And she sets him up big time. She lures him in basically so that he can get eaten by Joan. Well, she fed him to Joan. They get the key. Noah and her head to the elevator shaft. And let me tell you what.
Well, what does she knock him out with?
Oh, the jar of suckers, the lollipop, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Karma at its best.
Yeah, that's the most important part there, yeah. The suckers, the green suckers. Oh. And then he feeds him to Joan. I couldn't even remember who it was, Joan.
That's another I didn't even think about it. That's more poetic justice.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we go to the elevator shaft. This is just like, I couldn't do this. I mean, knowing that there's just all sorts of dead and deceased at the bottom of this elevator shaft because they've just dumped all of their dead there, and there's walkers, but they head down the elevator shaft in the dark. Oh, it was just crazy. Oh, I thought
that's
was
what they called them on Talking Dead, shot in the dark walkers.
Oh.
Because you only saw the walker when the flash of the muzzle was lighting them up and blowing their heads off.
Oh, that was just. Oh. I thought it was going to be an episode of Everybody Ate Chris when the walkers closed in. Oh, Beth gets arrested. Damn. I was hoping she'd get away, but that's all right. She smiled.
Yeah, she had let out a little shit-eating grin there, didn't she?
Yeah.
And she was just happy to see him go. And then we see Beth slam Dawn and get the rest of the audience called up. Beth gets another Dawn beat down, and now she's starting to look like the bride of Chucky. Then Beth confronts Doc Steve, and that's a bright cookie. She figured out his whole scheme, the whole thing, right then and there. And there was no wait until the next episode. There was no nothing. She, hey, he was a doctor. How the hell did she know that? She just read right through him. She can read people.
Yeah, well, she can. She definitely can. Then we see Beth. She grabs the long scissors. She heads towards Doc or Dawn. Enter Carol. Ooh. Here comes Carol. That's
the big what if for the next episode. But it's funny. I mean, this chick has lost 2 boyfriends. Who was it? It was first she lost Jimmy, then she slit her wrist, then she lost Zach, then she became the only post-apocalyptic American Idol because she was the only one singing in the whole show.
Yeah.
She almost hooks up with Daryl. Nobody notices her. Then she disappears for 6 episodes, and she's the hottest thing in the Walker apocalypse. Go figure.
Well, she is hot. That's just all there is to it. I don't know.
I noticed one thing.
Maggie used to be the hot one, though.
Well, I mean, if you look at Maggie's Maggie's pictures online, she got thong. I think she was on a thong catalog or something because she's got a lot of butt shots on the internet. But there was something very unusual about the Talking Dead after the show. It was who was it? It was John Barrowman. It was actually Beth. She was there, and one of Anna Gasteyer, I believe, one of the old cast members from Saturday Night Live. They always have a comedian. I guess they're trying to make it funny, but you could read everything that Beth was saying. Typically, when you search for a right answer or a wrong answer, if you're searching for a lie, you're going to look up. If you're searching for the truth, like someone asks you, Slim, what's your mother's maiden name? And you got to sit there and think about it for a second. You'll look down to find the answer. But if you tell someone your great Aunt Bessie passed away and you can't come to work and you don't really have a great Aunt Bessie, and someone asks you where the funeral is, you got to look up to find the lie.
Right.
You will definitely stare straight up. She looked down for every answer she was looking for. So that means she was telling the truth about everything they were asking her. She couldn't give away any secrets about the show until John Barrowman asked her, because we've seen all these memes about Maggie and Glenn. Mm-hmm. Your sister's gone. You don't ask about her once, but it's got this crazy, like, psycho girlfriend looking picture they're using. But Glenn, you want to know where Glenn is. You go off with Glenn. You don't stay and look for your sister. And they ask her about that, and she looks straight up and says, "Oh, no, it doesn't bother me at all. That's just, I'm sure Maggie has her reasons, And she's looking straight. She's lying. It's bothering the actress. Is being bothered by the fact that everybody on the internet wants to know why Maggie abandoned her. It's actually bothering Emily, the actress. Really? I guarantee it. And they're going to have to address this because there are so many fan forums out there and so many people reading into the show. You're going to have stuff pop up that the writers never anticipated. They probably just, they can't sew every loose end. Some plot twists have to, like, hang out there because they never meant for them to be plot twists. I'm sure they didn't write it in for Maggie to ignore Beth, but she did, and they went, oh, crap. They're going to have to deal with this sooner or later.
Yeah, but, one thing that's good for is it does allow them to extend into season after season after season. I mean, the more twists and turns that they have to do or things that they have to address like this, it extends the season out. I mean, we've seen them, don't be surprised if you don't see this whole, this Beth thing take 2 or 3 episodes before we're back to anything else. I mean, I know they show that the bus is going to be in the next episode, but if you remember correctly, when we saw a preview for the episode previous for Slabtown, when we saw the preview for Slabtown, it didn't appear that there was just Slabtown in it, and that's all the episode was. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see 2 or 3 episodes of the whole Beth Carol before we ever get back into Rick and everybody else. And that's what these issues that they have to address can help do. Make an episode here, an episode there, and extend this all out. I'm for it.
You actually saw them abandon the entire group when they went off to see what happened to the governor for 2 or 3 or 4 episodes.
Right.
They just went on to another whole cast of characters, mm-hmm. and the only one that's still alive is Tara. And do you notice the chemistry between Tara and Maggie? There was a little bit of chemistry between Glenn and Tara before they found Maggie, and now there's a little bit of chemistry between Tara and Maggie. And Maggie is hooked up with Glenn, and he is the most feminine of all the male characters on the show.
Tara's so I'm wondering too, in her outfit.
I'm wondering if there might be a little something going on, a little development, and it might already be in the comic books. I've had people tell me some of the plot twists in the comic books, and I know some of them, but I haven't actually read each one of them to figure it out. I don't know if, maybe Maggie and Tara might hook up.
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
I'm just saying, and anybody out there listening that has read the comics and maybe it's already true, well, don't tell me because I don't want to know.
They're going to tell you now.
I want to anticipate. I haven't even looked into the show. We got to find a name for our shout box.
Over in the shout box, try to think of a name for our shout box. For your Farmville show, it's the Dirt Box because it's the Dirt Farmer.
It's actually dead. It kicked me out.
Did it kick you out?
Oh, well, Stassi wants to know, what about Abraham's group? And we were just talking about that. That's the bus. We've got the church and we've got the bus. That's how we're split up right now. And apparently we're going to get into a little bit of that because all we see is Abraham beat the guy senseless with a can of beans for some reason.
Well, we do get according to the sneak peek from Talking Dead, we do find out about the hair.
Oh, what about the hair?
He likes it.
That's you mean Eugene?
Mr. Or Eugene, yeah, Eugene.
Mullet boy.
Yeah, Mullet boy, yeah, Eugene's not Abraham, but Eugene's in Abraham's group.
Eugene's a douchebag, I'm sorry.
I don't like him either.
You're meant not to like him. We'll all find out about that later.
That's one of those plot twists.
That's one of those plot twists I do know about and I'm looking forward to, but I'm not going to say anything about it. What I'm thinking happened is we saw Carol and Daryl take off after one of the officers' cars.
Right.
So they were probably out there, nosing around trying to pick up some more innocent people. And I saw someone today in one of the farms kind of indicate that maybe they heard Beth trying to escape and they saw it and they hooked up with Everybody Ate Chris, Noah. And they figured out what was going on and they found a way to sneak Carol into the hospital. And while Daryl goes back with Noah to get help at the church because he looked like he'd been through a fight or had to run all the way back. And the end of 4 walls and a roof, he looked like he had been through hell. And he looks at somebody behind him that we don't get to see and say, come on out.
True.
You got Morgan hanging around out there. It could be Noah.
It could be all of them, though. It could be the way the show is. It could be Carol. It could be Beth. It could be the whole group of them coming back with them, though, too. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know what timeline exactly.
We don't know where we went with Beth. Was that a day after she got abducted that she woke up, or was it 2 months after, she got abducted? Did she wake up? We don't know. So
yeah, they're feeding her backstory right now, and that's why we're getting caught up. And now we'll probably jump ahead and see something that happened a month in the future if they go to the bus group. And we'll have to wonder out. They're riding right by my house because I saw the map. They're going right by my house.
Well, let's have a party. Let's have a tailgate party and wait for them to go by.
I think they're coming right up Interstate 85, going to 52 to Winston-Salem, coming right across 40, and then heading right 85 up to Richmond and then into D.C.
The slab box. There you go. We have it.
Oh, slab box. We got to think of something else. Whose idea was that? Was that Cy?
Yeah.
Oh, that figures.
Hey, I like it. Could be more fitting.
I see people here. Everybody says, Stassi says it's Noah. Mary Ann says it's Noah. But, hell, we're going to have to wait and see.
I can't wait. I want to know now.
Well, poor Beatrice. She has to watch the show in Columbia, and it doesn't come on until 24 hours later. So she has to wait a whole other day with us talking. We can't talk about it Mondays anymore.
No, that's right. No more Monday talk about Walking Dead. We have to save it all for the Wednesday show. Let me ask a question. If they were to be able to, going back to the map that they showed and the distance that they're going, how long do you think, if they could travel uninterrupted walking, obviously because they're going to have to do all of this walking, and they could go uninterrupted, no zombies to deal with, how long would you think it would take to make that walk? From where they are all the way to Washington? Months?
You're probably looking at, I would hazard to guess, from Atlanta to Charlotte would probably take about 3 weeks to walk from Charlotte to, say, Central North Carolina, where I'm at, would probably take another 3 weeks. And then you're probably talking about 3 or 4 more weeks. So in all, 10, 12 weeks.
And that's that's without running into issues. That's without having to go off the beaten track because of walkers. That's so if you take into consideration everything they're going to have to deal with, you're talking months and months and months and months. Do they realistically think that these guys are ever? I mean, it's a show. They're going to get back together. I understand this, but
Cy singing in the shout box. Slabtown Walker, sing that song. Doodah, eat brains.
oh dear.
Cy shows up for every show. You can't be mad at him.
No. The Rot Box. There you go.
Oh.
The Rot.
We got to come up with one so we can tell people where to come. We got 21 people. Did anyone share the show tonight?
I did.
Yeah, I did too.
Nobody ever goes to shout boxes, though.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we get tons of people on the Sunday night show, and we're lucky if we get a couple of hundred in the dirt box.
Yeah.
You got the shout box. So we got to call this one something else.
Yeah, it's not going to be the shout box, not for long. So, who's going to be the next main character? I know you know some of the plot twists from the comic books, but they haven't followed everything. Who's going to be the next big character?
Well, the big thing now is, will Dawn survive, and is she redeemable? Because she's got this deluded thing, fascination that she's doing right. Let the people we rescued give my officers a blowjob, or do them in down the hall so they stay, up there. Which we haven't seen that in a while. We haven't seen any sexual interaction on the show in quite a while. The only one that ever hooked up was Lori, and she basically banged everybody. And Maggie's a little bit of a slut too. But then the governor got some, but he had a whole community. He was like Jim Jones. He had his own little cult going.
Oh.
So now we're actually seeing, humans have needs. We're actually seeing them address that again. Well, we did see that in Terminus. The biker gang took over Terminus and raped them and kicked them out, and then they came back and ate all of them.
Oh, tainted meat.
Yeah. Got to watch how you cook your barbecue. Is that what they're calling it? Barbecue. We didn't get to say any of our jokes. Who'd win in a one-legged race? Herschel or Bob?
Oh, God. It's horrible. You're so mean.
I saw a good one. Lizzie talking about her psycho Walker friends, and Herschel kind of bends down at her and said, "You're one creepy little kid."
Oh, God.
I actually saw a recent picture of Sophia, Carol's daughter, that got killed in season 2.
Oh, yeah.
She's growing up to be a hottie.
They should put her back in the show somehow.
No, they won't. They can't do that.
Well, they just call her.
Sound like Doctor Who, where you can just, make them a new character or something.
Yeah.
Well, you had some news last week. There was a hoax going around that one of the actors had died, and they were canceling the show.
Yeah, in all honesty, I didn't click the article to even see who they were trying to say was dead, because I knew it was going to do something bad to my computer. So, but yeah, somebody died and the show was canceled. But of course, that went around as I went and did my research on the internet to see if this was in fact true. The same exact thing went around back in May of this year. The same, they went around and said it was someone died, the show was canceled, blah blah blah. So you can't believe everything you hear on Twitter and Facebook. You just can't. Sorry.
Yeah, if you see a post tomorrow that Robin Williams is joining the cast, don't believe it.
Yeah. But here is one that is possible that we did post yesterday. DirecTV customers do stand a chance of losing The Walking Dead in the future. The contract right now with DirecTV and AMC runs out just about the end of the current season, not the April to or February to April season, but the current season.
So right up until the mid-season break.
Yep. So if there's a chance, if you're a DirecTV customer, you might not get The Walking Dead in February.
Oh, I wonder if that'll cut off, because if you miss the show and you don't have the ability to DVR, and you don't sit up till 2 o'clock in the morning until it reruns or whatever. You don't get there early enough to watch it because they played the old one before the new one every Sunday. But you don't want to watch that because it comes on at 8 o'clock Sunday the same time Dirt Farmer Live is on. We don't want to watch that one. You can go on the AMC website, and you can put in your whatever Time Warner cable, Comcast, Uverse, whatever it is. You can plug that in. But if DirecTV cuts that off, that probably won't work either.
Well, I know when Time Warner was having some issues and we lost, I don't even remember what station it was. We lost one of them, Fox or CBS, for a couple of days. And when I'm on Roadrunner, which is through Time Warner, when I logged on to whatever website it was, whether it was CBS or Fox, I was not able to view any video content whatsoever. And it told me, because you are a Time Warner customer, you are not allowed to view this. And it knew from my IP address that I was a Time Warner customer.
Well, we see some comments in the Dirt Box right now. People, I think Ann wants to see Beth actually kill Dawn. I think I saw that comment. One thing, I rewatched 2 or 3 times. Now, when they're rolling Carol in, you can see officers, but I don't recall seeing Dawn.
See, I didn't pay
Maybe
enough.
Daryl captured Dawn.
That could be possible. See, I don't know if they'll even. It all depends on what happens in the hospital with Carol. If Carol is, maybe she's really just not hurt. Maybe she's faking so that she can, like you said, that sneak into the hospital somehow. And she's going to jump off. There's going to be a huge firefight. You never know. And
we don't know how long. After Bride of Chucky, Beth got bitch slapped for the second time and had to have more stitches put in her face. We don't know if that was an hour later or 6 hours later, or they went out and there was another fight between the officers and Beth and Daryl. So we don't know how long it was or exactly what's going on, and we probably won't find out next week unless they split it up between Abe's group on the bus and go back to Slabtown and go into that a little bit more. You wanted to talk about who we thought was going to die.
Yeah, obviously, at some point in the game, some of the main characters have got to start dying off as we bring in more characters. I mean, that's just the way it works. Someone's going to die. Who's it going to be next?
I want to go out on a limb and say I think old Doc Steve's going to get it.
But see, that's not.
I can see him running down and just getting ate up by walkers.
Yeah, but see, that's not main character enough.
Okay,
let's get right to the nitty gritty. I mean, we're talking Rick, we're talking Carl, we're talking Beth, Kara. The meat of the characters, the ones that have been there since the beginning. Just
for the show, I can almost say if they killed Carol or Daryl, it would probably have to be a season finale just to even get into that. I don't see Rick, getting knocked off. He actually, at this point in the according to the comic book, he shouldn't even have his right hand anymore, because according to the comic book, and I can say this because it hasn't happened, the governor sliced off his hand and fed it to his daughter. So Rick shouldn't even have a right hand right now. I don't think he has one in the comic. Don't believe. I'm not 100% sure. But, I don't see one of the main ones going down. It's going to have to be somebody like Tara. And I really want to see him develop Tara's character a little bit more. You notice they'll come back to it. Beth was really a second stringer until this episode.
Yeah, but she's been around since the beginnings. I mean, she's part of the original group.
Well, she's the original once they got to the farm.
Well,
she's part of the Green family there on the farm.
Yeah,
and we lost Jimmy when the farm fell. We lost can't remember the lady's name, but I think she was the housekeeper or something. Otis's wife. We lost her. Andrea got separated. And they kind of clung together from that point.
I think we're going to lose the baby.
Really?
I do, because that would be.
You don't see her growing up to be like the Xena warrior princess of season 28.
I don't. I unfortunately don't. I really think that will make things very dramatic, and I think that could be a season finale. Something happens.
Well, they already teased. Rick and Carl thought the. I want to know how to say Carl the way Rick says it. Carl, Carl, listen to me. But Rick and Carl spent 3 or 4 episodes or hell more than that, 8 episodes almost, thinking that Judith was gone. And I got to tell you one thing, that if that little baby can act that well, she's going to be winning Academy Awards by the time she's 15. She plays. You see her interaction with Rick, picking stuff off his shirt and feeding it to him and stuff. They don't rehearse stuff like that. I do know for a fact that they are twins, like the Olsen twins. They change them out so if one gets tired or one has a poopy diaper, they can go and use the other one. But they're identical twins.
Over in the shout box, the rot box, the whatever box, going back to the baby, they're like, no, that would be way too sad. Like it wasn't sad when they had to blow the head off the one girl. I mean, and then Stassi says, the baby represents hope. Yes, the baby represents hope, but that doesn't necessarily mean
Look at the flowers.
And like Eric says, right after Stassi, hope is dead. And there you go. The baby's going. I'm telling you, it's going to kill me because I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, and it is going to just tear me apart. I mean, when that bad dude had a hold of the baby in the cabin, and I was going to break the baby's neck. I mean, I was literally in my chair. My fists were clenched. My fingernails were in my palms. I mean, it just drove me nuts. But the baby's going to go. Sorry.
I don't know. I wish I'd read the comic a little bit more. Like I said, someone I know, actually the person that founded the Dirt Farmer with me, Jennifer O'Neill, she read the comics during the first season because we were watching the show and talking about it, and she read ahead and told me all these plot twists and how this didn't do with the comic and that didn't do with the comic. And that's how I know, what Eugene is going to turn out to be. But I just don't remember if Judith played a pivotal role years from now, or if they even will stick to the role that she had. I know Lori was supposed to go, and she's gone. But, I can see Carl growing up in the show. I can see some of the other maybe Tyrese, maybe Sasha might bite it.
Well, I have read, and this was a while ago, I have read that the show is actually storyboarded through like season 12. So, I mean, they've got lots of places to go with this. And
yeah.
I can't wait. I really can't. Plus, they got a side show going to come out, hopefully, that they've teased about. Another show going to show us other parts of the world or other parts of the country that are affected by the Walker apocalypse, not the zombie apocalypse, but the Walker apocalypse.
Yeah, it's a big deal. If you ever see any of these fan sites that use the word zombie, apparently it's a big deal not to use the word zombie because you don't see it anywhere in the show. They've called them rotters. They've called them walkers, of course. They've called them, what was that one webisode? They called them KIAs. It stood for something else besides killed in action. Or I got to go look at the webisode again to find out. But they got all these different names for them, but they never call them zombies.
Nope, they do not. Interesting. We basically, for the most part, are out of time. So
you got a song lined up?
I don't. I have nothing.
Oh, we can talk for another minute.
No, I know, but.
Yeah, are we going to do a song? Are we going to do an exit song on this show?
We're gonna have to at some point. We'll have to.
Or we just sit here and talk about nothing until it actually goes off.
You know what? You need a Walking Dead farm.
Hey, we got a few people out in the shout box, and apparently some of them probably know the show, watch the show. We got to have a guest on like every other week. Somebody sitting here and comment around with us.
We can do that. If you're interested, let us know. We'll find somebody.
I know Cy will come on and make funny noises.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He'll sing. Nothing wrong with that. All right, we are out of here now. So if you want to talk Farmville, join Locke and his team Sunday nights, 8 o'clock for the Dirt Farmer Live. If you want to talk politics, pop culture, and everything else, join me, Locke, Zip, CB, Monday nights, 10 o'clock, Off the Hook Radio. We'll be back again next Wednesday. Walker Wednesday, get you through the midweek crisis of no Walking Dead, get you over the hump. We'll be here 10 o'clock, talk about The Walking Dead. Bye.
Good night, everybody.